Good morning, my students and viewers. Today I want to deliver my lecture on the right form of verbs. And this item is very much common in almost most of the classes, beginning from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, even in 11. Even in higher studies of English, we need to know verb, and it was in your SSC syllabus and also in your HSC syllabus. So I do believe you are familiar with verb, its definition, its classification, and so on. All right. So before going to the correct form of verbs, let me focus what a verb is. Look, the word verb, English word verb, has come from a Latin word which means verbum, V-E-R-B-U-M, verbum, which means a word that conveys an action or an occurrence or a state of being. Yes, the English word verb has also come to the present condition from also Old French. And in Old French, the spelling of the verb was verb. Old French. So the English word verb has originally come from Latin word verbum and also from Old French verb. Now, what a verb is? A verb is a word or a class of words which describes an action or an occurrence or a state of being. In fact, a verb is the heart of a sentence, as our body can't function without the existence of heart. In the same way, in syntax, nothing can be imagined without verb. So it is very important because most of the grammatical items are in one way or another related to verb. So to make any correct sentence, you must have to know verb and its correct form. Now, what are the factors related to right form of verbs? You can see on the whiteboard what are the grammatical items that you need to know to learn right form of verbs. At first, subject. You must know subject to make a right form of verb. And what are the matters with subject? There are two items. First, person and number. So, if you know subject, it means that you must have to know person and number, because the person and number of a subject are related to the verb of that sentence. And in grammar, it is called subject-verb agreement. Okay? Now, what is subject-verb agreement? According to subject-verb agreement, if the subject is singular, it takes a singular verb. if the subject is plural, it takes a plural verb. That is, there is an agreement between a subject and a verb. Right? So if you don't know subject, its person and number, you can't correct a verb. So I do believe that most of the students have the conception of person and number. But when you are going to correct a verb, then you can't identify person and number. Okay? For example, the mangoes of Rajshahi are very sweet. Look at the verb are, because mangoes are plural. But if I write in this way, the taste of the mangoes, suppose the taste of the mangoes of Rajshahi, then the verb is. Why? Because in this sentence the head word of the subject is taste. The taste, and it is singular. The taste of the mangoes, আমগুলোর স্বাদটা হয় মিষ্ট, স্বাদটা, it's singular, so it takes a singular verb. But sometimes you are mistaken thinking that mangoes are plural, so the verb is plural. Okay, think of the difference, the taste of the mangoes and the mangoes of Rajshahi. So don't be confused. So subject and verb, subject verb agreement is very much important. Yes, another example. The price of the essential things increasing. Look, the price of the essential things. So here things is not the head word of the subject. The head word of the subject is price. The price is singular. Okay, so the verb is also singular. But think of this structure. The essential things, here are, because now things is the head word of the subject. So when the subject is more than one word, then you can be sure of the head word of the subject. Okay, another example. One of the girls Look, one of the girls have done the work just now. In this context, the girls is not the head word. The head word is one. So one is third person singular. Okay? So here the verb is has. If the subject is third person singular number, then you have to use has. But the girls, here girls is the head word. Then the verb is have. The problem lies in the fact that you can't find out the main word, the head word, that makes you confused. Not only that, there are also some other cases. Another example. Slow and steady. Win the race. Look, slow and steady, and as conjuncted. Slow and steady. Slow and steady are not two different things. Slow, je slow, সেই steady. এই দুটি গুণ একটিকে মিন করেছে। So the subject is third person singular. So the verb is wins. Okay? Or bread and butter. His breakfast. It seems to you that bread is one thing and butter is the another thing. So it is plural, but not that exactly. Okay? You are taking bread and butter. You are taking bread with butter as a single unit. So it is third person singular. So the verb is. Right? Another example. The principal accompanied by all the teachers be present in the last meeting. Look, the principal, it is singular, accompanied by all the teachers plural. Okay, but it seems that usually it seems to you that principal is one person, all the teachers are also other persons, and so they are plural. Right? তোমাদের কাছে মনে হতে পারে কারো কারো কাছে যে প্রিন্সিপালও যাচ্ছেন, সাথে যাচ্ছেন সকল শিক্ষক। তো সকল শিক্ষক এবং প্রিন্সিপাল। So usually it seems plural, but not that. Its meaning is this, that সকল শিক্ষককে সঙ্গে নিয়ে প্রিন্সিপাল স্যার মিটিংয়ে উপস্থিত ছিলেন। সকল শিক্ষককে নিয়ে তিনি ছিলেন। সো এখানে হেডওয়ার্ড ইজ দ্য প্রিন্সিপাল, not all the teachers. So if the principal is singular, so it takes a singular verb. Last meeting, so past tense was. When two nouns or pronouns are connected by, accompanied by, as well as, together with, along with, and so on, you should take for consideration the first noun, okay, not the second one. If the first one is singular, it takes a singular verb. If the first one is plural, it takes a plural verb. We can use reversive. Suppose all the teachers accompanied by the principal. Now, all the teachers, this is the head word, and you should consider this one, all the teachers, it's plural. So, the verb is plural. Where? Then the principal doesn't matter. That matters is all the teachers. So, think of the first noun, right? So this is subject verb agreement. There are many more rules and examples under the title subject verb agreement. Okay, now another factor is tenses. You know that a verb must take place either in the past or present or future. Tense indicates verb, the time of the verb. Okay, so if you want to make right form of verbs, you must have the clear concept of tenses. I say tenseless means senseless in English grammar. That is, if you don't know the rules of tenses, structure of tenses, it is quite impossible for you to correct a verb. So it is very, very important, and you have learned tenses from your school life, beginning from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and so on. So you are master of tenses, I do believe. Okay, so I want to move to another point, that is sequence of tenses. What is sequence of tenses? It is another important factor, another important item to know right form of verbs. Do you know what the sequence of tenses mean? Do you know? Let me discuss. Think of compound and complex sentence. Simply, tenses are related to verb in simple sentence, but when we speak of complex sentence or compound sentence, we need to know sequence of tenses. Now, what is that? Sequence of tenses means that the tense of the principal clause in a complex sentence determines the tense of the subordinate clause or clauses. That is, the tense of subordinate clause depends on the tense of the principal clause. So sequence means there must have an order between the verbs of two or more clauses. It is the same case in compound sentence. In a compound sentence, there are at least two clauses. Yes, there may be more than two clauses. Sequence of tenses comes where there are two or more than two clauses. And of course, we can find two clauses or more than two in a compound sentence as well as in a complex sentence. So sequence of tense is related to complex sentence and compound sentence, not in simple sentence. And let me give some examples of sequence of tenses. When he came, I read a novel. Or another sentence, he went home and take rest. At first, let me discuss the second one. He went home. This is a clause, coordinating clause. Take rest, it is another clause. Okay, the first verb is went. It is simple past or past indefinite tense. So the verb take should be also past, that is took. সে বাড়ি গিয়েছিল এবং বিশ্রাম নিয়েছিল. So look at the sequence, went and took. So there is a sequence between the tense of the first clause and the tense of the second clause. So this sequence of tenses you must have to know. Suppose went, can you use take, or can you use here will take? He went home, সে বাড়ি গিয়েছিল এবং বিশ্রাম নেয়. Is it right? No. Or he will take rest. Is it correct? No. সে বাড়ি গিয়েছিল past tense. So সে অপরটিকেও past tense হতে হবে. তাহলে সিকোয়েন্স অফ টেন্স বলতে আমরা কি বুঝবো? কমপ্লেক্স এবং কম্পাউন্ড সেন্টেন্স যেখানে দুই বা ততোধিক ক্লজ থাকে, সেই ক্লজের একটি ভার্বের টেন্সের উপরে ডিপেন্ড করে অন্য ক্লজের ভার্বের টেন্স ডিটারমিন হবে, নিশ্চিত করতে হবে. দিস রিলেশন বিটুইন the tenses of two or more clauses is called sequence of tenses. Another example, when he came, I read a novel. যখন সে এসেছিল তখন আমি একখানি উপন্যাস পড়ছিলাম. That is was reading. So came is past, was reading also past. You can't write I am reading. As it is past, you can't write I am reading, it is wrong. Or I shall be reading. Incorrect. Am reading, incorrect. So the tense of am indicates and determines the tense of the verb read. This relationship between tenses in clauses is called sequence of tense. Another example. So this is a rule. If the verb of main clause or principal clause is past tense, the subordinate clause also takes the form of past tense. Yes, it may be past indefinite, it may be past continuous, past perfect, and so on. একটি পাস্ট হলে অন্যটিকে পাস্ট হতে হবে। সে পাস্ট টেন্সের কোনটা হতে পারে? যেমন আমি এখানে দেখিয়েছি পাস্ট ইনডিফিনিট ছিল, পরবর্তীটাও পাস্ট ইনডিফিনিট হয়েছে। আবার একটা দেখিয়েছি একটি ছিল পাস্ট ইনডিফিনিট, আগে আরেকটি হয়েছে পাস্ট কন্টিনিউয়াস। ইভেন পাস্ট পারফেক্টও হতে পারে। লুক অ্যানাদার এক্সাম্পল। He said that he do the work the previous day. Said it is past tense, so the tense of another clause should be in past tense. But there are 4 kinds of past tense. Now which one is suitable here? Either past indefinite or past continuous or past perfect or past perfect continuous. It is past perfect. He had done. Why? Look, previous day. So in direct speech it was yesterday. So when it was yesterday, it was past indefinite. When it is transferred into indirect speech, the past indefinite tense transforms into past perfect. So here, had done. So there is a relation between said and had done, and this relation is called sequence of tenses. And again, if I write in this way, he said that he do the work for 2 hours. For 2 hours. Said is past tense, so the next clause should be past. But which one? Which one? It is now for 2 hours. So it means perfect continuous. As it is said, it is past perfect continuous. He had been doing. Okay. So there is a relation between the tense of said and the tense of do here. So if you don't know the rules of the sequence of tenses, you can't do well in right form of verbs. Today I am just giving some hints about the factors related to verb, and in next classes I shall discuss all these items one by one in detail. Okay, today I am just giving you some hints that you need to know, right? Now another factor is voice. Voice is also related to the right form of verbs. You are also known to this grammatical item. voice. You know, there are two kinds of voice. Number one, active, and then passive voice. You must know the active and passive forms of verb. Otherwise, you can't do. Okay. Let us show some example. I wrote the letter. Okay, look at the form of the verb wrote. It is active because the subject actively performs the verb. It is active, but the letter read by me. Look, it is passive. Why? The letter was written by me. So here the verb is not directly performed by the subject but by an object. অর্থাৎ যখন একটি সেন্টেন্সের সাবজেক্ট নিজে সরাসরি ভার্বটি সম্পন্ন করে, ইট ইজ অ্যাক্টিভ ভয়েস, সক্রিয়। অ্যাক্টিভ শব্দ মানে কি? সক্রিয়। অ্যাক্টিভ ভয়েস মানে সাবজেক্ট সক্রিয় থাকবে, সরাসরি ভার্বটি সম্পাদন করবে। আমি চিঠিটি আমি সাবজেক্ট, আমি লিখেছি। বাট যখন কোনো একটি সেন্টেন্সের ভার্ব যদি সাবজেক্ট কর্তৃক সম্পাদিত না হয়ে কোনো অবজেক্টের উপরে বর্তায়, অর্থাৎ অবজেক্ট দ্বারা সম্পাদিত হয়, দ্যাট ইজ প্যাসিভ। প্যাসিভ কথাটির মানে কি? প্যাসিভ মানে ইনঅ্যাক্টিভ, নিষ্ক্রিয়। কে নিষ্ক্রিয় হয়ে যাবে? সাবজেক্ট। এখানে লেটার কিন্তু আর লিখছে না, অর্থাৎ সাবজেক্টটা প্যাসিভ হয়ে গেছে, ইনঅ্যাক্টিভ হয়ে গেছে। ওকে, বাট আমি লিখেছিলাম, এখানে সাবজেক্টটা অ্যাক্টিভ ছিল লেখা কাজে, রাইট? তো যদি তোমরা রাইট ফর্ম ভার্ব শিখতে চাও, যদি প্যাসিভ ভয়েস অ্যাক্টিভ ভয়েস না জানো, তাহলে সেটা সম্ভব নয়। খেয়াল করবে বাই থাকবেই, নট দ্যাট। কখনো কখনো অবজেক্ট সাইলেন্ট থাকতে পারে, সেক্ষেত্রে তোমাকে বুঝতে হবে ভার্বটি কি সাবজেক্ট কর্তৃক সম্পাদিত না অবজেক্ট। সেই অবজেক্ট সাইলেন্ট থাকুক আর ওখানে প্রেজেন্ট থাকুক। ফর এক্সাম্পল, English speak all over the world. English speak all over the world. সাবজেক্ট হচ্ছে কি? ইংলিশ, ইংরেজি ভাষা। তো ইংরেজি ভাষা নিজে নিজে কথা বলতে পারে কি? যেমন ইউ ক্যান স্পিক বাংলা, আই ক্যান স্পিক ইংলিশ। আমি কথা বলছি, সাবজেক্ট অ্যাক্টিভ। তুমি কথা বলছো, ইউ, সাবজেক্ট অ্যাক্টিভ। বাট এখানে ভাষা চলে আসছে আগে। ইংরেজি ভাষায় কথা বলা হয় সারা বিশ্বে কাদের দ্বারা? বাই পিপল। এটি উজ্জ আছে এখানে। তো তুমি যখন দেখছো এই ভার্বটি এই সাবজেক্ট করছে না, সাবজেক্ট করছে না, করছে কোনো সাইলেন্ট অবজেক্ট দ্বারা, তখন বুঝে নিতে হবে এটা প্যাসিভ। আর যখনই বুঝবে প্যাসিভ, তখন তোমাকে দেখতে হবে এখানে কোনো অক্সিলিয়ারি ভার্ব আছে কিনা। ইউ নো দ্যাট প্যাসিভ করতে তোমাদের ইউজুয়ালি একটি অক্সিলিয়ারি ভার্ব লাগবে এবং ভার্বের থার্ড ফর্ম বসাতে হবে, অর্থাৎ ফার্স্ট পার্টিসিপল ফর্ম। ওকে, তাহলে অক্সিলিয়ারি ভার্বটা প্রেজেন্ট টেন্স ইজ স্পিক এর থার্ড ফর্ম স্পোকেন। English is spoken all over the world. তাহলে দেখো, তুমি যদি এটা প্যাসিভ বুঝতে না পারো, then is it possible for you to correct this verb know. So learn also applies to learn right form of verbs. Let us focus in detail in next classes. Another factor is narration. Narration is also related directly to the form of verbs. Okay? How? The teacher told me that he look. The teacher told me that he tell me to do the work. This is indirect speech. Okay? If I write this in, the teacher said to me, I tell you to do the work. Look at this example. This is direct speech. The teacher said to me, I tell you to do the work. Now, here the verb is tell. But now, in this sentence, the right form of verbs is told. যখন এটি ছিল ডিরেক্ট স্পিচে তখন ওখানে টেল ছিল, যখন ন্যারেশনটি চলে আসছে ইনডিরেক্ট স্পিচে তখন টেলের জায়গাটা হয়ে যাচ্ছে টোল্ড। তাহলে টেলটা টোল্ড পরিণত হলো কেন? বিকজ অফ ন্যারেশন। ইন ডিরেক্ট স্পিচ there may be a particular form of tense, but when you change the direct speech into indirect speech, the tenses are changed according to rule. Okay? So if you don't know the rules of changing tenses in narration, you can't do well in right form of verbs. So you must know the rules of changing tenses in narration. Okay? Another factor is sentence pattern. Sentence pattern is also related to right form of verbs. But how? Let me show. He went home. Look, this is an assertive sentence. The verb is went, right? But if I write it in this way, he did not go home. Now the verb is go, but in the first sentence it was went, but now it is go, because the pattern of the sentence changes. It is assertive, but now it is negative. Further, did you go home? Here it is went, but now it is go. But why? So the verb form changes with the change of patterns of sentences. Assertive এসে এক ফর্মে ছিল, নেগেটিভে গিয়ে সে আর এক ফর্ম গ্রহণ করেছে, আবার ইন্টারোগেটিভে গিয়েও সে আরেকটি ফর্ম ইউজ করেছে। তার মানেটা কি দাঁড়ালো? তোমরা যদি বিভিন্ন সেন্টেন্সের গঠন প্যাটার্নগুলো যদি না জানো, সেক্ষেত্রে তুমি পারবে না। আরেকটু উদাহরণ দেখো, an honest man not tell a lie. So if you want to correct this verb, then not tell, it means that you have to change the sentence into negative form, and you should also correct the form of the verb in negative pattern of the sentence. And you know that an honest man does not tell. Does not tell. Why? Because the sentence is negative. So you have to know the pattern of interrogative sentence, negative sentence, assertive sentence, and other kinds of sentences to be good at right form of verbs. Okay? And the last item that I want to mention is parts of space. In one way or another, parts of space are related to right form of verbs. How? Think of preposition first. I never thought of go there. There is a preposition of. Okay? So part of speech কিভাবে related, you can see. এই গোটা কি হয়ে যাচ্ছে? গোয়িং হয়ে যাচ্ছে। কেন? There is a common rule that a verb after a preposition takes ing. Okay? So তোমাকে part of speech জানতে হচ্ছে। Again, I saw a bird fly in the sky. Think of fly. It becomes flying because it is present participle. It is an adjective. So, my dear students, if you want to learn writing correct form of verbs, you must know at least all these items clearly, completely. Okay? Well, students, today I have given you just some factors or grammatical items which are very much closely related to this grammatical item, right form of verbs. In some next classes, I want to discuss all these items one by one in detail with examples so that you can do well. Okay? And in the comment box, please comment with the hope of knowing more and more. Be constructive in your passing opinion and comment. You know that I follow your comment and try to answer in that comment. Even in next class, I discuss some of your questions. Okay? See you next. All the best.